How's it going, everyone? This is Jack here with the Commander's Wire, and welcome back to another video. Today we have another special video. A lot more news has come out over the weekend. First of all, about some new defensive staff changes that the Commanders have made, as well as some potential free agents that the Commanders could be linked with in this upcoming free agency cycle, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't already, please go down below, drop a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to know when I post next. I really do appreciate it, and it allows you to stay notified on videos about news, rumors, and other things regarding the Washington Commanders in the future. And without further ado, let's get right into today's first topic. I'm sure you're all aware of the organization that's heavily linked with the NFL being PFF. They're very popular with their grading system as well as with other news regarding the NFL when it comes to players and stats. They recently put out some news that projects the Washington Commanders to be the frontrunner in landing free agent tight end Kyle Pitts. Now, if you don't know who Kyle Pitts is, he's a former first-round pick. I think he was picked in the top 5 by the Atlanta Falcons. He is a freak of an athlete, tight end coming out of Florida, and he's just been really underutilized here in the NFL coming in from college. So I think that he definitely has the skill set, athleticism to be a great tight end in the league. However, I just don't think he fit the role and he fit the mold of a tight end that they wanted in Atlanta. So he's set to become a free agent this year, and according to PFF, they project that the Washington Commanders will be the top team to look at when it comes to landing free agent tight end Kyle Pitts. And I would be all in for this. I think that he will fit that sort of safety blanket role that Zach Ertz played when he was with us for the last couple of years. He will definitely upgrade this passing room and allow Jaden Daniels to have another option when it comes to the passing game that isn't another receiver. So another player like this would be Isaiah Likely. I'm going to go over all the free agent tight ends in a future video. If you want more in-depth news about the future free agent tight ends, go down below, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and you guys will be notified when I post that video. But Isaiah Likely is another tight end that fits this mold. He's very athletic. He has decent hands and would be a solid passing option when it comes to Jaden Daniels. Now, both of those tight ends aren't very good when it comes to blocking. However, we do have two very good blocking tight ends. Actually, three pretty decent blocking tight ends, being Ben Sinnott, John Bates, and Colston Yankoff. I think they're all very solid options when it comes to blocking, and it would allow Kyle Pitts to be more of a receiving tight end, as he is more of a downfield threat rather than a blocker when it comes to his skill set. Now, according to Michael Dorico, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this name, but he believes that Jaguars linebacker Devin Lloyd is very likely to hit free agency after he has most likely priced himself out of Jacksonville. He was a very solid linebacker for the Jaguars and really helped them lead that Jaguars team to the playoffs. Dorico says that linebacker Devin Lloyd is also a free agent, but the estimated franchise tag of $27.5 million is just too high, and he'll demand a big contract in free agency. So the Jaguars are likely out on him as he's being priced out of Jacksonville. So Devin Lloyd, I think, would be a great free agency pickup for the Washington Commanders. We obviously have a hole at linebacker. We do have some young prospects. We have Frankie Louvu, who has had a down year, and we have Bobby Wagner that is most likely going to retire after this year. And I think that Devin Lloyd would fit the bill right away. I don't think he has played in a system with Durante Jones and Brian Flores. I don't think that he has too much experience with that. However, I think that his football IQ will definitely allow him to adapt quickly into that type of defense and allow him to be this team's next green dot on the defensive side of the ball. And I'd be all in for this move. I think Devin Lloyd's a very good linebacker. There's obviously other linebacker free agents that we could look at. Another guy is like Quay Walker. Another guy is like Eric Wilson, who is pretty old. He was with the Vikings. He was a backup. However, he knows the defense inside and out, and he could be another veteran presence that may not be able to start, but would allow the starting defense to adapt more easily to the Durante Jones defensive scheme. So there's another name to look out for. I'm very, very excited to see what this year's free agency has in store. We have a lot of money in cap space, and we have a lot of holes to fill in this roster. So I need Adam Peters and Dan Quinn to pick up the phone, call some agents, and get some guys signed here to the Washington Commanders. Now, next up, the Commanders have made some changes when it comes to the defensive staff. I think this is definitely needed. However, some of these guys I'm really sad to see leave. However, I think it is the best thing for the team to let go of some of these coaches and allow Durante Jones to bring in some of his own guys that he had, whether it was under Vance Joseph or under Brian Flores. Regardless, he wants to bring in some of his own staff members to install his new defensive scheme with the Washington Commanders. So now, according to, I brought this lady's name up before, and I've struggled with it. Nikki Jabavala, I believe is how it's pronounced. I'm sorry, I definitely butchered that. However, that's the best I can do. So She says that there are some other expected changes to the Commanders staff. The team is moving on from assistant linebackers coach and career sack leader Ryan Kerrigan. I'm really sad about this. You guys can kind of see right there is a jersey framed. That was a gift from my wonderful girlfriend. It is a signed Ryan Kerrigan jersey. I really loved watching Ryan Kerrigan play for the Washington Redskins growing up, and he was one of my favorite players. So it is sad to see that he is leaving. However, it is what's best for the team, and good luck to him and with whatever endeavor he has going on after this. And the Commanders decided to move on from defensive pass games coordinator Jason Simmons, who I believe is getting a job with the Steelers, so he's not, I think he was making his way out of the Commanders organization anyway, as well as they're moving on from assistant D-line coach Sheriff Floyd and player development coach Pete, I'm going to butcher this guy's name as well, Onigian, Pete Onigian. I don't know how to say that, I apologize, but they're moving on from those 4 defensive coaches. Now, the D-line coach, I really expected that to happen as well. I think that in a previous video, I talked about a potential staff acquisition for the Washington Commanders being Minnesota defensive line coach. I forget what his name is, but go back in my previous videos, you'll be able to find it. I believe the Washington Commanders will be planning on hiring a defensive line coach that Durante Jones has a lot of experience with, like the one that was with him in Minnesota, and I believe that that will be their next guy here in Washington signed for Durante Jones' defensive staff. And this is some more rumors. I wouldn't call this news, however, but as a Commanders fan, I tend to look at Commanders gear a lot, and I have seen a lot of this team's home and away jerseys going on sale. Now, I don't know if that means that, they're going to get some new stock in, like these are the 2024, 2025, model jerseys, I guess you could say, and they're just trying to get them off the shelf so they can have some new jerseys being filled in their warehouses to sell, or that could be a Easter egg or a tease into potential new jerseys for the Washington Commanders. Now, I'm not saying this is a guarantee. However, normally when something goes on sale or it's clearance, they're trying to get it off the shelves because they have something new coming in. So I think that could mean that the Washington Commanders could have new jerseys coming in for the 2026 season. Now, this is not a guarantee. This is not me saying that is going to happen. However, it's definitely leaning in that direction, and I'd be very happy for that. I've said in previous videos the Commanders may be going back to the Super Bowl era jerseys, and they may be making those their permanent home and away jerseys. Now, I would be all in for this. I would love that. I think they look great on the field. I'm a big fan of them. So, obviously, this is not a guarantee. This is not official news. However, it is some rumors going around that I have seen personally, and I'd be very excited to see what the Commanders are going to do for the 2026 season and their jerseys. Now, this is going to be the end of the video. I appreciate you guys sticking to the end and watching the entire thing. If you haven't already, please go down below, drop a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to know when I post next. And drop a comment as well. Let me know if you guys want the Washington Commanders to sign tight end Kyle Pitts in free agency, or to sign linebacker Devin Lloyd in free agency. I think that they would be great additions to this Commanders roster, and I'd be very excited if they were to come to Washington. And so that's going to be it. I really appreciate you guys watching to the end. God bless, and hail to the Commanders.